Quick little tutorial of how to run this mixer. There's your main power. Phantom power, you are not going to need that for running a normal like stage vocal mic like a Shure SM58, so that can stay off. Here's your power input, the other end goes into the wall. This is the USB plug, so the other end of this would go into a laptop, and you can get audio out from the laptop straight in through the USB and onto the board. Mic 1 and mic 2 are the main vocal mic input channels. You'll plug the mic into here, or both. Keep the low cut on. If you're using them for vocals, you don't need below 80 hertz frequency for vocals. If you're using it for vocals, keep the guitar button off. Gain, you may have to experiment with this. I know that on my mixer, SM58 is about 20 to 30 dBs of gain, so I haven't pegged right now, but if they are peaking on this peak light, once you start singing into them, you can just dial this gain down basically until it stops hitting that peak and you'll be fine. These are the EQs for the main vocal channels. You have one high and then there's two mids for channels 1 and 2, and a low. I run these essentially flat. Right now there's a little bit of roll off on the high end because you just don't need that. It might just make it kind of hissy and essy. But you can run them almost flat. If you want to tweak them tiny bits. But they're going to be pretty wide swaths of frequency that it's affecting. So, and with the mids, you can actually dial it in so it's a little more peaked, so you can pick. So if you are getting feedback in some mid range, you can try to like find the notch where it is and then dial it back with this knob, but I'd probably just leave them flat and don't stand right in front of the speaker. This is your effects send, so this is how much reverb you're gonna get. They're in the middle right now. You can dial these up and down as much as you want for how much reverb you want to get back. Aux pre's, you don't need these. These are pre-sends. You're not going to use the aux sends, so they can stay there. Pan, right now it's hard left. If you're just using one PA speaker, you want to pan it to one direction and then just use the corresponding main out to go to the PA. So right now you're going to use that main out L because everything's panned hard left. And then these are your main levels for each channel. You can run these, I'd say full volume-ish is gonna be about 12 o'clock, but you could also go up and down from there as you need. And the main thing you're trying to do is, like I mentioned before, you want your input gain set to where you're not peaking here. And then you want these outputs set to where once you have your main volume adjusted, you're not clipping on this meter here. So you'd like to keep it around, if not slightly below, that 0 dB mark normally. The only other thing you really need to worry about, if you end up just using like the headphone out on the laptop instead of the USB, you can go in here, line in 7 and 8, and that gives you stereo in from the headphone out on the laptop. If you want to do that, I'd probably just use USB. And if you are going to do that, then you're going to use these 7 and 8 channels here. No effects on those, EQ flat on those because it's just for the music. And then the balance right now, because it's set up for one speaker, is hard pan to the left. And then that's your level there. Like I said, I would just use the USB input, and that all you have to do for that is have this button pressed in right here, which is 2 tracks of USB to the main. This is your effects knob. So right now it's set on one of the hall reverbs. There's also plate reverbs, you might like that, or room reverbs. Those are usually a little mellow for karaoke. Usually you want kind of a more intense reverb. You can do that. Maybe one of the plates. Put on plate 2. And then this is your main effects return. So like I said, you can mess with this knob and then the effects knobs on each channel to get your reverb dialed in the way that you like it.